Queria só aproveitar e fazer um adendo em relação à Coreia. A Embaixada Brasileira tem programas de intercâmbio para os jovens, para startups, para todos aqueles que queiram estudar não só o coreano, mas também a estrutura econômica da Coreia para exportar futuramente. E todos os anos eles têm que devolver recursos ao Itamaraty, porque nós nunca conseguimos preencher as vagas. Então, apenas para citar um exemplo de como nós deixamos as oportunidades passarem em um país absolutamente fantástico e na liderança de temas como a Indústria 4.0. Aproveitando agora, sempre que a gente fala de Indústria 4.0 no Brasil, obviamente o 4.0 a gente busca da terminologia tocada pela Alemanha. E, basicamente, todas as grandes instituições brasileiras já fizeram um benchmark com a Fraunhofer. Então, eu acredito muito que essa é uma palestra que vai interessar a todos, e por isso eu chamo o Rainer Stark para falar um pouquinho mais para a gente.
So good afternoon also from my side. I have a little bit of a cold. I brought it from Germany, but I'm recovering here in Brazil, so it's a good atmosphere, and this summit is great. So what I would like to show to you is the German model, and also how we in Fraunhofer want to partner up with Brazil, and how do we assess right now the state of the mission of Industry 4.0, and what are we going about it. Okay, we at Fraunhofer IPK, we are located in Berlin, and we are having very close relation between industry. 40% of our income is directly contract from industry, but we are also going very international. So I'm a member of the Scientific Review Board of Industry 4.0 platform, which is maybe an initiative which should be formed also in Brazil, where you bring together industry, the agencies, the research institute, and all the, let's say, associations like FIESP and FAPESP and so on, because we want to unify of how to move forward. How will I go through it? I will start with the advanced manufacturing state and perspectives, also the international view on it. I need to tackle a little bit the digital transformation and go into the digital innovation afterwards. And then we are giving you an example how we do digital networking with different type of technologies in Germany. And I would like to sum up at the end of how we think digital integrated production is also going to help Brazil, and what we want to do here in Brazil together with you. Okay, starting with the advanced manufacturing. So sometimes it's difficult to say what is Industry 4.0. It was launched in Germany in April 2011, but as it was said earlier, it had a precursor already some years before. So in a nutshell, these are the essential points of it. It's implementation and use of Internet of people, things, services, and processes, and make it applicable to industrial value chain. Now that's not that simple, because in Industry 3.x, we have a lot of things to be done, and many companies have used all the potentials there. So therefore, there is ubiquitous surrounding networking, assistant intelligence. So this puts a high demand on infrastructure. And not even in Germany, we are ready for all of these. And therefore, we ask ourselves, what are the benefits of doing all of this? So it's horizontal integration between companies, new type of value chains, very important. Not just how we do it today, but also within the companies, rather doing it the automation period, do different type of services. And obviously where we all need to do more is the digital consistency. Because I was running it for 14 years in the car industry. It takes a long time before you really get it step by step introduced. And then it's decentralization, which is hard to believe how quickly you can get there, but that is where some of the new elements of disruptive elements come to the fruition here. And obviously we need to make value out of for our society, otherwise automation, digitalization without our human beings and workers will not work. So we got to get this all together. That's in a nutshell. Now we made a kind of assessment. Where do we stand with the different approaches? Now obviously starting with our country, Europe and in Germany, we obviously are pretty much compelled in terms of engineering excellence, and we are driven by this fact also in our education system, but also bringing it lifelike learning and bringing it into each of the also small and medium enterprises. Now if we have a lot of interaction also with China. If you look to them, it was noticed already earlier, there's on the one hand speed, quick digitalization, but long-term commitment, where we have in our democracies in the Western world sometimes difficulties to do that kind of spread. The US obviously has changed their mind, because for a long time they were giving manufacturing, despite the automotive industry, to different type of countries, but now they would like to resume control over it again. And then there is this West Coast boast about digital radical innovation, and disruption was introduced as a term a couple of years back. Now, if you look to the very successful industrial countries like Japan, South Korea, they also have an interesting approach, the ability to scale and bring it on the very difficult domestic market, but also be ready to export it anywhere. So they're interesting approach. So the question is, what is the role of Brazil? Now, probably that's the discussion we need to have here. First of all, it was mentioned, yes, productivity and industrial value chain needs to be further established and needs to be improved. And you can make quick wins by adopting, in a certain ways, mature technologies. You don't have to go through all the cycles, so there's an opportunity for Brazil. And at the end, since you have such a big domestic market yourself and the rest of South America, you also should look for complete solution, not just like some commodities, some things here and there. So that is the challenge for Brazil, to form itself into the future. But as I said, we are more than happy to help and partner up with you. Now, what are the focal areas if you want to make this transition? Technology, human resources, and education is a very important aspect. But also, what are the productive chains and the infrastructure, and how loose can you be on regulation, how tough do you need to be? I noticed here a lot of financial, let's say, standards that need to be obeyed here. Maybe it's a little bit too complicated. But you have 9 key sectors in Brazil where we have a total strength already, and that maybe is a natural source for starting it. And I don't go through all the priorities, but I would like to point out 2 of the difficulties you might face. Take the last one, pre-competitive R&D projects. I think trust needs to be established with the different, let's say, associations here, together with industrial leaders, to say, yes, it is good to do pre-competitive work together. Although we don't know exactly who will make which kind of stakeholder. That's the strength how we do it in Germany. And I know, since we have done some projects here already, there is a good opportunity, but that needs to be fertilized, and maybe summits like this will help doing that. So, in sake of time, I will not go through the others, but innovation for small and medium enterprise, not just for large ones, is another very important one. Now, digital transformation. Now, we experience it in our private life, but how do we actually want to do it in professional life in industries? So that's an interesting picture here, because even we have big discussion in Germany about it. Let's start on the lower left side, production technology, mechanical engineering, automation. Germany is and will remain very strong in this. We have big competitors in Japan, in other areas, but we're quite, let's say, optimistic that we will keep a very good position there. However, and we are also not too bad in management, logistics, and work science, because we have a lot of, let's say, experience in that. But we had to confess that in electronics, microsystem technology, we were giving up too much to the Far East. But now there are programs in place in Germany even to re-establish that in bigger terms, because that is very essential for the future of Industry 4.0, because all these sensors, you need to have a stake into that one. And then there is this information communication technology. We traditionally have a very strong stake in it, but company-wise, for a while we were giving it away. But now we brought it back. Now, SAP is a long-standing company in Germany, but Siemens has bought UGS 11 years back because the whole digital factory chain is quite critical. So therefore, I think mixing now the engineering models with IoT and cloud computing becomes a very competitive edge for the future. So we have to ask ourselves and go to an industrial, so what is exactly we are going to do about it? So at least to keep it simple enough, there are smart objects, smart factory build up out of smart object, and smart enterprise if it comes to all the different processes. Now the question is, cyber physical system, it was a term invented in the US, 2006, but it was basically appealing a lot of, let's say, attention everywhere in the world, because that kind of view on it was not natural for typical mechanical engineering kind of companies. Now, intelligent factory means what is going to change? Is it really that the volume of the individual process gets lower and we need to have more flexibility? So each sector has to give answers themselves. You cannot just generalize it too much. So the added value networks right now is the big thing. We are going to revise and enhance the roadmap of Industry 4.0 for the Hanover Fair. I'm part of the team. So we're still working on it because we see smart service as a very essential point, not just the technologies. Now, I don't go too in the details, but at the end, if you go to companies, you exactly need to go on to that kind of level. It is not good enough to say, well, data is the next kind of level of crude oil. The dilemma we're having with data today is they have no real value. A very unfortunate situation, and the US tries to stimulate everybody to give it for free. That's the Google way and so on, and Amazon. But I think in industrial value chain, we need to counteract, and that's the big discussion coming up over the next couple of years. But then the real question is, if you, for instance, have a digital twin, well, running through all the kind of as a real twin compared to what we're doing in physical production and what we're doing with the product in the field. Certain European companies are already doing that, like Rolls-Royce on the turbines, but also Siemens themselves if it comes to train business. So some of the long-living commodities already have that, but now the question is how to bring it into consumer product as well. Now, digital innovation, transformation by itself is not good enough. So at our institute, we have the full capability for all these different kind of segments here. That should give you some confidence that we know what we're talking about. However, in each one of these things, we have project, and I would like to show you some of the things. So that was a project already launched in 2008, 3 years before the announcement of Industry 4.0. It was called Self-Organized Production with Distributed Intelligence. And within that one, it became very clear that we need to have this orchestration of control, communication, and computation. Now, this is the new key essence of knowledge you need to establish within your workforce, and then it depends on which value chain you're in. So here's an example. Yesterday was production identification with barcode, today with RFID, where there will be e-grains, a new type of sensors. So that's an element, and we have developed this as an example in a collaborative project between industry and the research institute to make it happen for machines, because there you have a radio antenna and you measure the sensor vibration, and it's even self-inducing energy so that you don't have to deliver energy, and that gives you the insight what's going to happen in machines you already have on your shop floor. Avoiding new investment because that's too costly. So we need to become smart on these elements. Another thing is we work together with the car manufacturer on how to change the way of sequence of assembly. Now, car industry becomes and is important in Brazil. You have different OEMs here working on the manufacturing side, also in engineering. And here the question is, how can we do a kind of intelligent networking? And many car companies also in Germany reconsidering right now because of the e-cars coming into the factories, how to change the philosophy of the production itself. Now, digital factory twin, that's an object and a project we are handling in an association in Germany called ProSep IWIP, where we have 160 companies together with Research Institute. And here, as it was already outlined by the Siemens expert, we are very closely to their philosophy. We need to find the close loop between what's really happening in the factory, bring it back in the virtual world so that we basically can influence each other. Now, we want to do something for the small and medium enterprises. We want to bundle technology and knowledge together in a suitcase. We call it Berlin Suitcase Industry 4.0. It's part of our Industry 4.0 application lab. So whenever you come to us, please have a look to it, and we will showcase that very soon, next year. And that's part also of an opportunity here in Brazil. So digital networking, I give you an example of how that works. I mentioned already that our institute in Berlin is pretty much expert in the production technology and management, but with the help of the other Fraunhofer Institute, we're exactly using this kind of technology and bring it together now to make effective use. That is the Digital Center for Digital Transformation, and we are not only going to Industry 4.0, but also into the other areas, as you can see here. Obviously, we are, let's say, owner of the Industry 4.0 lab. That's why we also would like to concentrate on this here. Let me close out with the digital integrated production approach. As I said, if we want to partner up with you, we need to know your space, and we are collaborating with Brazilian companies and with Research Institute for a long while. Here you see some of the examples. We're doing a bigger research project, but also doing development together. And we are planning to, very soon, to open the Fraunhofer Project Center for Innovation and Advanced Manufacturing. Actually, will happen already. It has been signed already, but it will be opened in early next year, and Professor Ullmann will come here. And we will be located at ITA Place, and a very good, let's say, location with the CCM lab there. Now, what are our goals to do it together here with you? There are some strategic objects, as you can see here. We want to support the Brazilian industry and the initiative moving forward. And we are co-located at ITA because there are interesting intellectual property sharing. And obviously, we are looking for an investment from our side, but also here from the Brazil institutes. Now, typically the question which will come up in, let's say, summits like these here today, these are some of the principal questions, and we need to go into the analysis and what is our way to work together with the industries. That's my last slide. We are going into information qualification, demand screening and status quo and the benefit potential. That's important for each individual sector you are in. And then we need to go into demonstrators and prototypes to find out what is it to bring it home and what's the necessary transformation process. And obviously, we do it in 2 phases. First of all, it's an analysis stage, let's say half a year to maybe 8 months. But we would like to combine it also with a demonstrator to showcase it in the environment of the company so that you can bring in your other experts. And so that's an opportunity how we do it in Germany. And we are quite sure that this will also help, let's say, to take the opportunities in Brazil. With that, let me close, and I'm very open to have discussion with you. And I think a summit like this here is very critically important to move forward. Thank you very much for your attention.